On the Hinterstwasser Traverse, the 1936 Eiger North Face disaster resulted in the death of 5 climbers during the 1936 climbing season on the north face of the Eiger. After a deadly and unsuccessful German attempt in 1935, 10 climbers from Austria and Germany traveled to the still unclimbed Eiger in 1936, but before serious summit attempts could get underway, one climber was killed during a training climb. The weather was so bad that after waiting for a change and seeing none on the way, several climbers gave up. Only 4 remained, 2 Bavarians, Andreas Hinterstwasser and Toni Kurz, the youngest of the party, and 2 Austrians, Willi Angerer and Edi Rainer. The weather improved and they made preliminary explorations of the lowest part of the face. They climbed quickly, but on the second day, the weather changed. Clouds came down and allowed observers on the ground only intermittent visibility to the climbers on the face. On the second day the party was bombarded by rockfall, a notorious problem on the north face route. Angerer was hit just below the shoulder blade and injured, though it is said that he tried to continue climbing. They did not resume climbing until the following day, when, during a break in the clouds, the party was observed descending. Later, it would be learned that the group had no choice but to retreat, since Angerer had suffered more serious injuries from the falling rock than at first thought. The party became stuck on the face though when they could not recross the very technical and difficult Hinterstwasser Traverse, from which they had pulled the rope during their ascent. Exhausted on their third day of climbing, with 2 days of bad weather, it is said that Hinterstwasser still tried for hours to cross the traverse, but it was impossible in the poor conditions. Hinterstwasser had used a technique called a tension traverse, where a rope is fixed and kept taut, allowing the lead climber to lean on it for balance. The bad weather would have also meant wet and slash or icy rock compared to dry conditions on the ascent. The group decided to obseil down the vertical face, the Great Rock Barrier, to the base of the mountain. Contact was made with a railway guard at the Eigerwand railway station halfway down the descent. During their exchange the climbers amazingly said that everything was all right, perhaps out of pride and knowledge that they were very close to safety. However, as Hinterstwasser set up the last obseil of the descent, an avalanche came down the mountain, taking Hinterstwasser, who had unclipped from the group, with it. Willi Angerer fell and was killed by the impact of his body against the rock face, and Edi Rainer quickly asphyxiated from the weight of the rope around his diaphragm. Only Kurz survived the avalanche, hanging on the rope with his dead comrades. Late on the third day 3 Swiss guides started a rescue attempt from the Eigerwand station. They failed to reach Kurz but came within shouting distance and learned what had happened. Kurz explained the fate of his companions: one had fallen down the face, another was frozen above him, and the third had fractured his skull in falling and was hanging on the rope below him. In the morning the 3 guides returned, traversing the face again from a hole near the Eigerwand station despite avalanche-prone conditions. After 4 nights exposed to the elements, one of his hands and his arm was completely frozen. Kurz hauled himself back to the mountain face after cutting loose Angerer below him. The guides were not able to pass an unclimbable overhang that separated them from Kurz, but they managed to get a rope long enough to reach Kurz by tying 2 ropes together. While obseiling, however, Kurz could not get the knot that joined the 2 ropes to pass through his carabiner. He tried for hours to reach his rescuers, who were just a few meters below him, desperately trying to move himself past the knot, but in vain. One of the guides, climbing on another's shoulders, was able to touch the tip of Kurz's crampons with the head of his ice axe but could not reach higher. Faced with the futility of his situation, he famously said only "Ich kann nicht mehr," I can't go on anymore, and then died.